Simon, thanks so much for joining us today on the Beyond the Support Queue podcast. I appreciate you coming on to the show. Just for everybody in the audience, I wanted to introduce Simon. He's the VP of Customer Success at Bloomreach, and excited to have him on the show today to talk a little bit about a few questions in AI, as well as the customer experience space overall. But yeah, I appreciate you having you on.
Yeah, my pleasure. I'm looking forward to it. I think those two topics are pretty close to my heart. And
That's great. Just to start off here, if you could give a quick overview of kind of your role within customer success. Obviously, you have extensive experience in this space and what your career has looked like and grown over the last few years here in the space.
My career in customer success is pretty long. It's hard to say when it exactly started, because like many people do in their career, I stumbled here from other associated areas, from strategic consulting in my case, and I've worked customer side and agency side. But I've worked in SaaS for the past 10 or so years now, VP for the last 7 or 8 years of that. And I've been at Bloomreach as their VP of Customer Success for the past 4.5 years now. So I'm looking after EMEA, I'm looking after MENA and APAC as well. If anybody out there isn't familiar with Bloomreach, so we are the agentic platform for personalization. So we do all sorts of things around autonomous search, conversational shopping, autonomous marketing. We've got over 1,400 brands who we work with across the world. So that my team and I are busy. And sitting right across the customer lifecycle, really. So everything from helping the pre-sales team, bringing customers on board, implementation, of course, and then right the way through to renewal and beyond as well.
That's great. I appreciate you covering that there. Just to start out here, obviously, we know that AI over the past couple of years is a super hot button topic for a lot of teams, but I kind of wanted to start out with a question around AI just because I think it's so interesting depending on any new company that you're talking to. So just in terms of AI, is there anything that's most significant in the way that AI has transformed your guys' customer experience strategy in the past 2 years here?
It's a good place to start, and I feel like I'm almost forming a tow truck in my mind for this, because I was at Inside Pulse in Vegas last week, and everybody I spoke to was all the Gainsight presentations and areas they covered. It was central to the conversations I had with a bunch of people over there. It's central, of course, to our business, and it would be easy to think sometimes that AI is a new term. It's really become outside of tech and in the whole world. It's something that's always been front of mind for us. So it's exciting to see the explosion of kind of interest in the consumer base and the whole world in AI. And I think getting back to your question, thinking about how it impacts the customer experience and the strategy of our business, there's probably 3 areas that come to mind. I think one of the biggest shifts is really being to cut the feedback loop down. So if you go back a few years, we'd be talking about getting to know customers by having a success plan, by getting to know multiple levels of their org and using those traditional methods. It might take us a bunch of siloed conversation days and weeks to synthesize what the real customer pain they really wanted from us, how we could really help the best. And now we've got AI tools to really get notified about important events, to collect feedback across all these touch points and be much more strategic and fast. And now we really are talking minutes and seconds to understand how we can help customers, what they need from us, and turn it around. So that's the kind of first bit that comes to mind, the internal feedback loop bit. I think the second way is the customer experience themselves, how customers are using not only our platform, but lots of SaaS platforms out there. To use an example that's pertinent to us, our engagement products, it's used by marketers to do a whole bunch of things, but one common use case to create omni-channel scenarios. So it might be a fashion retailer identifying an abandoned basket, follow up through email to a personalized message. And in the past, if a skilled marketer is looking to create that, they're going to be analyzing some data from their data science team. They're going to be creating workflows, A/B testing. All of those stages now still exist, but they're much better enhanced by agentic workflows. They can pull in the right data. The agent can do the heavy lifting in terms of scenario building and content creation. and then also own the execution and help ensure that the end customer always gets the right message. So I think all of this is better for end consumers, but it's definitely a shift for marketers in terms of how they work.
For sure. And I think within, just to summarize there, obviously you mentioned the feedback loop and speeding up that feedback loop. Now it's maybe seconds or minutes versus not sure. I was curious, like, how long did it take you guys before? Obviously now it's seconds or minutes. What did that process look like for you guys before AI came along?
It's a good question, and there's kind of lots of ways to break that down. I've got a team of skilled people in a number of different disciplines, but if you think about the CSM role, that could be instant. If the CSM has the answer to the question, fantastic. But the challenge has been we might be working with as many as 30 or 40 people within one customer, and we might have 10 people from our business talking to all of those customers. So you can have in silo the right conversation, the right response. You can get together internally and share learnings and do account planning, build business plans. And that's all great, and that still needs to happen. But the difference now, we're using tools so we're using Staircase, which is a new tool we've just plugged into the business. And what that can do is plug in all of those conversations that anyone from Bloomreach has with a particular customer and use AI to pull that together and pull out common themes. So that's really useful for us when we're doing account planning to say, okay, I might have heard speaking to the exec that was a really important push for one element of their business, but we might be hearing from users a completely different problem. So it's important to put that together, and we're much better equipped to do that now with AI helping us.
Definitely. And I know that you mentioned obviously on the marketing side and analyzing data and being like just AI being implemented in quite a few of your processes now. It sounds like you guys are pretty well implemented with AI. Has it been a challenge? Obviously, I'm sure it has been a challenge for you guys. What has that kind of looked like along the roadmap and timeline of you guys implementing AI and the challenges or any hurdles you guys have had along the way with doing?
Yeah, it's really interesting. And I'm going to quote someone here that this is a kind of secondhand piece of information I learned about an hour ago. In one of our Slack channels, somebody posted this really interesting visual, and it's by a guy called Brian Balfour, who's an AI product leader. And he's talking there about three personas of AI adoption. And he's talking about catalysts, these being the people who are really super motivated, really keen, want to jump in, want to get it done. He's talking about converts, which is people who are a bit more hesitant, but they are willing. They will buy into it, but they want some proof. They want people to help them get there. And he's talking about anchors, and these are the people who might see these tools as threats and not want to change their working processes. And I think realistically, any business will have all three of those personas. I like to think we're a Silicon Valley tech company, so I certainly hope we've got more catalysts and a couple of converts and not too many anchors. When we look at our customer base, it's likely those three personas will exist in their bases as they do in ours. So it's been interesting to see in my business, real people pushing for this, that the converts and catalysts really volunteering, using new AI in an innovative way, looking to get people along. All of that, the biggest challenge has really been just to find the best AI and the best way to from all of these new tools that are available to us, because it's like the Wild West, but in an exciting and great way that anyone can make an agent and plug it into a business and add genuine value. We'll probably see in a few years this settle down and a few bigger players start to take over, like you see in any industry. But for now, I think we're just trying to experiment, and of course, being very careful and cautious from an infosec perspective, and make sure we're not plugging in AI agents to any of our own data, and certainly not any of our customers' data. But for our own kind of internal learning and thought process, we're enjoying the exploration.
Definitely. And I guess, would you consider yourself a catalyst, convert, or an anchor?
I'd hope I'm a catalyst. I think if I'm really thinking where I'm on the Venn diagram, there are some bright red glowing catalysts in the business, and I'm just enjoying learning from them, not feeling like I have to bring it all myself, because there's people in the business who are just much more natural and great at identifying the right tech.
Definitely. I guess from a customer success side, how have you seen AI, like the AI strategy, either positively or negatively affect customer retention?
Yeah, so on that, I'm fortunate in this business that our gross retention has always been really strong. So thanks to the customers for that. We're always really paranoid about that. And I think a good CS leader has to be paranoid about retention or you're not really doing your job. So one way we've really used AI here is to really focus on what we can control, on the churn risk we can control. And for us, one thing AI has really helped us adopt is adoption. So any SaaS company with a product wants customers to use that product, of course. And we're not a simple product. So therefore, we've really got to understand what features customers are paying for, what they're using, what's creating the most value, what customers should do next. And AI has really helped us, I guess, not only understand adoption, but to also learn about how we can proactively drive net retention on top of that, getting customers to grow. So we've launched a couple of frameworks around that. We have a framework that we call Bloom, which benchmarks where customers are, calculates the lift they can expect, it orchestrates what they should do next and measures the outcome. And I think that, in combination with the kind of internal scorecards we're using, means we can be a lot more precise now in terms of helping customers know what they should do next, because it's rare that any customer would ever come to me, and this has been true in my last 5 jobs, and say, I need ideas. Like, customers have a lot of ideas. I think where SaaS vendors can add the most value is just helping customers identify, look, if you're trying to achieve against objective 1, what one thing next is going to help you get there in the best way? What's the best relationship between effort and value? Yeah, that's where kind of AI's helps take retention to the next level.
Yeah, I definitely agree. And I think that you mentioned something there that I think segues very well into this next question that I was going to ask. You said customers have a lot of good ideas, and spinning off that, how do you ensure that customer feedback meaningfully influences your roadmap?
The timing of that question really couldn't be better, because I had, I think, one of the best and most important conversations with my product team a couple of weeks back. And I'm lucky because we've got a product team who are very engaged in the customer base and love leaning in. But I think often in customer success teams, you're in a bit of a difficult position because you're always fighting 100% for what your customer wants. But you've got a lot of customers and therefore a lot of competing demands, and the product team can't prioritize everything all at once. So I think in some ways, product management's probably got even more challenging over the last year with all the potential that AI offers for the future of product development. And I guess what we're trying to do is balance where customers are now and what they're asking us for, whilst really investing in the agentic product solutions that are going to really revolutionize the future of MarTech, because we're lucky to have a lot of successful and mature customers doing amazing things. They've got really specific feedback on the enhancements they want from us. So we're listening. We want to build that. We've got to build that. But also, I think this is a generational opportunity to utilize AI to make the tech of tomorrow and to create entirely new interfaces. We've always, since I've probably got I'm showing my age now, but I got my first computer in 1995. It was a 486, if anyone listening knows what that is. And I got that. It was just a MS-DOS prompt, and I typed into it. And we're still doing that. There are WYSIWYG graphical interfaces, but we're still writing prompts into machines to get a response. That hasn't changed since 1995 and before. I think what we're really trying to partner with customers with now is co-develop something radically different and see how agents can be genuine partners of ours to do more without that one-dimensional right into a prompt approach that we've always had.
Yeah, definitely. And I know that you mentioned being able to balance what customers are asking for. Does Bloomreach have any tools? I think you mentioned one earlier that helps cut through the noise of being able to relay the right messages to your product team versus things that maybe they just don't need to hear.
Yeah, absolutely. So Staircase AI, again, is a good tool that helps us with that. It's not the only one, though. There's lots of internal tools and conversations we have to identify what the right level of investment is for all of the different features we have and all of the features we want to build. Again, I think that really got harder this year, but in the best possible way, because now we're excited, and many other tech companies out there are equally excited by what agentic can look like, other ways generative AI can plug into the products that we all know and love. And you've seen it yourself. If you're a Gmail user, you've seen that change. If you've adopted ChatGPT from OpenAI or any of these other technologies that you maybe weren't using a couple of years ago, they're now becoming really common everyday tools for it's easy to forget when you exist in the ecosystem of tech that these terms that we use every day and we're really familiar with and our customers are familiar with as well. I had my mum talk to me about ChatGPT a couple of weeks ago, which is something I never expected. I think she got her computer maybe 5 years ago and the first smartphone 2 years ago. So if it's reaching people of a pensionable age, I think it's pretty pervasive in the whole market.
Yeah, that's impressive. I feel if it's reached your mom already, it's evolving quickly.
Yeah.
For sure. I guess pivoting to my next question, it's a little bit a different of a question here, but how are you seeing right now the role of customer success just grow and develop in 2025? It could be AI related. It could be something completely different. Just curious what you've seen over this past year and how things have changed.
Yeah, I've worked in customer success for a long time now, and I've seen it really mature. So when I started in different KPIs associated with it, different responsibilities in mind for their CS teams, sometimes it was more support, break fix orientated, sometimes maybe it was more commercial and account management focused. And now I think the KPIs, the playbooks, the benefits of having a world-class customer success team are really well known and a lot more unified. But I think that said, there's signs really of customer success growing into its next era, I think, in terms of its impact on strategy and growth. And there was a lot of talks about this at Gainsight Pulse last week. There's other talks I've had at local meetings with peers and conferences in the UK too. And I think, customer success, it's not just about retention anymore, which is hard to say because I've been obsessed with retention for a decade now, but it's equally about revenue growth and advocacy going forward. And I think these are themes traditionally owned maybe by other teams, by revenue or by marketing. And CS individuals now who are there to just respond to questions, that's really important in 2025, but customers are crying out for real strategic, trusted advisors, for technical experts, and for kind of orchestrators of the whole piece front to back as well. So that evolution, I'm really ready for and excited by. And we've seen in our business, the CS teams get closer to the commercial teams. We've seen that with kind of other people in our space as well. And I think having that alignment just benefits the customer ultimately, because now we've got no silos and barriers between understanding what the customer's looking to commercially achieve and how we drive success to meet those ends.
Definitely. So are you saying with retention, revenue growth, and advocacy now, some of the roles and tasks of customer success managers might be blending together with like cross-functionally?
Yeah, I think so. And I've read a little bit about the rise of the generalist into the future. I guess as AI becomes better at doing specialist things, then being able to have a general knowledge of what the customer needs and how to thrive in a SaaS business becomes more important than ever. And maybe that's easy for me to say, and maybe I'm biased, being a generalist myself, because there's certainly nowhere I could do the job of my technical consultants or my business consultants or my deliverability teams. I think that I've had to be a generalist for most of my career. But I think what's interesting is that the specialist functions we have, and I've just listed a few, they'll see their roles evolve over the next few years and become inherently more strategic and more impactful to customer strategy, because that's what customers are crying out for, and they can use those specialist AI tools to help them be even better to do that.
For sure. And I know that you've had a extensive career in this space. I guess the last question that I really wanted to dive in here is just what are you most proud of in your customer experience career so far? It could be something recent or it could date back all the way to when you just started.
Yeah, I think generally the thing I'm most proud of here is the teams I've built and the great people I've worked with. It is easy to forget sometimes that we're all really fortunate to work in tech. Our jobs are usually really fast paced. They can be challenging at times. We all know that. But it will expose us to tons of different people, tons of different places, tons of different problems. So I've really loved helping to develop some really strong leaders in my time at Bloomreach and some other places I've been in my career. I remember thinking back, hitting a bit of a turning point fairly early into my career where I went from being probably a scared leader looking out for myself first to hopefully more of an effective leader looking out for my team first. And I think maybe a common pitfall that a lot of managers have starting out is wanting to be the best, hardest working, most effective person in the team. And those virtues, I think, are great, and they can help you be a successful manager when you're starting out. But if you want to be an effective VP, my view is really there should be nothing in your team that you're the absolute best at. I think if you're a VP of a CS and a PS org like me, if you're the strongest technically or the best relationship manager or the center of all that's good in the team, then you're probably not giving the team enough guidance or enough space to be better than you. So it's really rewarding when you can get to that stage of kind of being comfortable and enjoying that and celebrating your team's successes as your own. And I think if you can create that sort of culture, it becomes quite addictive and you don't want to leave. And then hopefully your team don't either. So that kind of culture creation is the thing I think makes me most proud.
For sure. And I guess just wrapping up here. So with that, being able to lean into being a generalist, obviously having guidance and giving your team space is so important, but leaning back into that more of the generalist role and letting your team, allowing them to be more specialized within their role.
I think that's really important. An important role of any successful VP out there is just to be super clear for the team about why they're here, what good looks like, how we can consider it done, but actually not be overly prescriptive about how we get there. Because if you can create the freedom for people to contribute their own thought and vision into what the team goals and KPIs are. We call them MITs. Every quarter, we have a bunch of most important things that we focus in on. And I always love that to be really team-led, because then the team take ownership of it. They feel responsible for it. They enjoy it. And it's nice that we have that culture here where hopefully everybody in the team, beyond my team and all the teams here, feel empowered to do that. And that helps us get more done. That's going to be really important. Maybe linking back to one of the things I said at the start again with these catalysts, converts, and anchors. We need these kind of catalysts in our business and in any business to really identify what the new focus areas are. And for the past few years, it's never been on rails. It's never been a completely linear process. But there's been common themes that have existed and persisted. But with the influx of AI now in the future, I think there's a lot more space for even more creativity and going in different directions and finding new ways to grow and improve as well.
Yeah, that definitely makes sense. Yeah, I think that I have asked all of the questions I wanted to. Is there anything, just final thoughts from your side? Obviously, you provided some great insights today, and we've loved having you on the podcast. I just wanted to see if there's anything that you'd like to wrap up with before we go here.
Yeah, just to thank you again. First of all, I've really enjoyed the chat, and I had some similar chats last week at Inside Pulse with some really interesting leaders in my space and in different spaces and verticals. And I think one thing that was common across those discussions, and maybe one final thought to wrap up on, is just I think for CS particularly, AI gives us the opportunity to be more scalable than ever, to be more knowledgeable than ever. So adopting it wholeheartedly and making sure that you've got as many of those different catalysts in your business is going to be essential to succeed. But also important to think about the human touch and what we can do is, whether it's specialist or generalist people within our businesses as well. That's really important, not only within the organization, but also working with customers, because customers are looking for reassurance. They're looking for help to move to this agentic future. And it was quite amusing. There was a talk I went to last week, and there was a business there that had a really impressive health score, pulling in loads of really involved data science models, using a ton of AI and producing a really granular score based on their thousands of customers. And the first question from the audience there was, so what's more important, this score or the CSM sentiment that they just manually gave? And they said, oh no, the CSM sentiment's always the most important one. Humans aren't going away anywhere yet. I think is absolutely the key to the future.
For sure. Yeah, it's very exciting times within the space. I'm excited to see how it continues to evolve. And obviously, everything's happening very fast, especially if, as you mentioned, your mom's already using ChatGPT. So I think that's great. I'm looking forward to it.
Yep. Thank you.
Awesome.
Yeah, it was a pleasure.
Sounds good. Have a great day. It was great having you on, and hopefully we'll talk to you again soon.
Yep. Cheers. You too.
Thanks. Bye.